I'm Emma and I'm going to show you how you can split your product model up into different phases using the module functionality. This can be super useful because it can provide you with quick insights in what phase of your production, for example, is causing the most impact in different impact categories. Normally this could require a lot of Excel manipulation, so it's really nice if you can get the data out quickly and easily. I'm going to use this t-shirt as an example today, and we have this whole inventory built already. What we're going to do is use the module functionalities to split it up in different phases. What phases do we actually have in our production model? Because usually we're modeling products cradle to gate. Essentially this means that you're modeling your product from the moment that the raw materials are extracted or produced, so the cradle, until the moment that they're leaving your factory, the gate. Essentially you can split up cradle to gate into 3 different phases. So you can split up in raw materials extraction, that would be the first one. Then you have the transport of the raw materials to your facility, so that would be the second one. And then you would have production, and that would be the third one. And it can be very useful to split these different phases because it shows you in what phase the impact lies, if it's within your own factory doors or if you maybe need to start talking to your suppliers or switch suppliers. So this can give very interesting insights. On to how we're going to make this split. If I click on the item that I want to assign a phase to, I get the product detail panel, and in the product details section I see this module part. A module is something originating from the construction sector, and they essentially gave those 3 phases that we just discussed a name and a code. So they say that raw material supply is A1, transport is A2, and manufacturing, so your production processes, are A3. We can use this to split up our model into different sections. So for example, first off we have this electricity item that we selected. We're using this in the production, so it's a manufacturing impact, so I'm going to assign module A3. Then the second item we see here is the fabric, and we're buying that in, we're not producing it ourselves, so we're going to give that module A1 because it's a raw material for us to make our t-shirts. And then finally here we have the waste fabric that we have from production, and this is something that happens in our production facility, so I'm going to assign it with manufacturing module A3. But what's important to note is that what you might have noticed is that this item has other items inside, and how the module functionality works is that the top item, if you give it a module, will override the modules of all the items below. For example, these items actually don't have any module, but because I assigned the module to the top item, they will all get the module A1 when we're exporting the results. This is how the module functionality works in Mobius, but how do you actually get the information out? Well, for that we need to make a results export, and we'll discuss the results export in another video in more detail if you don't know it yet. But we can make that under the tools button and then download impacts, and then we'll get an export. So here we have the results exports, and it has many different tabs, but for now we only need the EPD tabs for this video. And what we see here is a table of all of the impact categories that we have in this method, and then the impact split up in the different modules. You see that we have impact for A1, so the raw material extraction, and A3, so the manufacturing. We didn't add any transport in our model, so we don't have any A2 right now. What we can see here is maybe not too much, but we can very easily use this information to make a graph, which I already did actually for this example. This is actually really interesting because what you can see in this graph is the contributions of the different phases to each impact category, and I've all scaled them to 100%. What this shows us is that the raw material extraction phase, or A1, is actually causing most impact in all of the impact categories. That's of course not always the case. What this tells me is that if I want to improve the impact of this product, I should probably zoom in on the material extraction and production phase more, so on A1, because that is where most of the impact lies, so that is probably also the place where I can maybe find potential improvements that will make the most sense. This actually tells me a lot pretty quickly, and that's really nice to know. So in this video, to summarize, I showed you how you can use the modules functionality to get the information that you're seeing here. If you have more questions about this topic or you want to know more, please check out our other resources. Good luck with making your own LCAs in Mobius!